Greetings, Timeshare Travelers. This is the Timeshare Traveler, episode 22, the Greenwell Coffee Tour near Kona, Hawaii. The Greenwell farm is one of the oldest farms, if not the oldest. It was founded in 1850, and it is actually responsible from one of the owners going to Vienna to enter in a coffee contest that they were able to put Kona Coffee on the map. So it's a very interesting tour. So I did a tour for that, and if you ever get to the big island of Hawaii, you should definitely do a Kona Coffee tour. So I hope you enjoy this tour. Before I jump right into it, I'll tell you a little bit about my channel, and then you can enjoy the tour as much as I did. Hi, this is Cliff, and I'm your Timeshare Traveler. The goal of my YouTube channel is improving your timeshare travels. I'll do this through timeshare video reviews, tips for using timeshares, and much, much more. I can be found on Facebook at Timeshare Trav, Twitter at Timeshare Trav, and on the web at www.timesharetraveler.com. And if you like my videos, don't forget to click subscribe below.
Parallel after Kona Airport, an elevation that begins from 5,000 to 3,000 feet. And this is 35 miles long, north to south, and 2 miles wide only. So all the coffee that is grown here in Kona Coffee Belt gets the legal designation as Kona Coffee. Okay. So we shall start the tour now. I'd like you to follow me this way, especially the very popular one, which is pea berry. And I will share that to you to what is pea berry coffee. So aside from the history, I will also tell you how we process our coffee, beginning from step 1 to finish, and then how we roast our coffee too. So beginning with the fruit trees that you see here, I'm going to introduce it to you. These are oranges here, navel orange, and very sweet variety or kind of oranges. There's also avocados there lying on the side of the street. 20 plus variety of avocados are growing here in our farm. But around the island, about 200 variety of avocados.
I didn't even know it was that many varieties.
Yes. Our banana. We buy coffee cherries from other farmers, as long as it is from that area, Kona Coffee Belt. No other kind of coffee is a Kona Coffee. So this is the scale. That's all coffee there. It is weighed here in the scale, and after that, it goes to that sorter machine. Okay, so that is a color sorting machine. It scans the color of the coffee. Whatever is green and black goes out there into the trailer. Green and black are overripe and underripe coffee beans, and we don't process that. And this green and black coffee are never wasted because it goes to composting and used as a fertilizer. So this is how that machine works. Okay, video. Okay. So that is that one there, and this is the belt here where the coffee are coming out, and there's a camera here that detects the color of the coffee. Okay, green and black, overripe, underripe is never processed. So there's the coffee there, and this is the camera here. And select coffee goes out here. There. So it goes down there, goes into a cup with water, and the water will push all these coffee cherries to that pulping machine there. Okay, let's walk.
Okay. Quick question.
Yes.
On that. So do they are they picking those with the machine? Is that because I can see that there's a few green ones, and if you were doing it by hand, you probably wouldn't pick it that way.
Yeah, so the machine does it.
It just picks whatever. It just rattles the tree and gets the berry.
Oh, it's picked from the tree by hand.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, by hand.
Huh.
Yeah, it's all hand picked.
Okay.
The skin of the coffee. Okay, so when this is washed, the skin becomes soft. Okay, so it will be easy for that machine to remove the skin of the coffee. So I will squeeze this coffee and show to you how many coffee beans are inside. Okay, this one here. You see that black marks there? It means this is infested with coffee berry borer. The black tiny insect drills the coffee fruit and they make a house inside and they eat the coffee beans. This fungus came only in 2010.
Really?
Yeah. And they found out it is a native of Africa, this fungus. And it came here through a luggage. Wow, yeah, through the luggage.
Someone like us? I didn't
Okay. So normally, 2 halves of coffee beans inside, and this is covered with the second layer called mucilage layer. This is the first layer of the coffee called pulp. It goes out goes into that trailer there waiting, and the beans are soaked into the water so that there will be a slight fermentation and to loosen the mucilage layer. And soaking this in plain water will generate more flavor to the coffee.
Get rid of the bugs?
Yeah, they will die, but this will continue to be processed. Yeah, the last process is detection of any discolored, defected coffee beans. Everything stays our quality coffee. So soaking is 12 to 24 hours. After the soaking, this will be dried on the drying deck. So those are drying decks. I'll show you the drying decks, which is right over here. Yeah, but manual. Okay, this knobs here tears the coffee skin. You drop the coffee fruit there, and while this is running, then it will peel off the coffee skin. So this is only used for a small amount and old style. That is the modern coffee mill. Okay, this way of July, because the harvest season already starting in that month. Yeah. August to December. But sometimes when it rains a lot, that will advances the maturing of the coffee beans. Okay, when it rains a lot. When harvest. So this is a drying deck. You can see it. You can't see it right now because it's covered with this roof. This roof is sliding. Okay. It has wheels on the side. You can see at the bottom the wheels. Only it is manually pulled and push. Not remote control nor push button. And then drying it through the sun takes about 6 to 7 days. Okay. And every 30 minutes it is rain. So when there's a rain, it is covered. We cover it with this roof and also during the night time. Now, there's 2 methods we use for drying the coffee. One is free energy from the sun, and the second is through profane. Okay, we call it the modern drying machines. The sound you're hearing now are the machines that are used. So 4 drying decks are used. We have those machines is because when there's volume of coffee beans to dry, then we have backup. Okay, drying it through the machine is only 30 hours, while this one here is 6 to 7 days. However, coffee that are dried through the machine never change the flavor of the coffee, or the flavor of the coffee is not changed at all. Okay, so we walk down there and I'll show you the drying machines that are called drying machines. See? drying machines are used here in our farm. And what you see here are all the coffee that were dried, okay, from the sun and from the machine. So it is rested here for 45 days. Why? When we dry the coffee machine or sun, for example, this is the coffee. When we dry it to the sun or machine, there is a moisture that is left here, 10.5 moisture, measured by the moisture meter. So the reason is just to keep the enzymes alive, but not for the molds to develop and for this to grow. Because the next process is called reposing, which means rested here in this bag for 45 days. Reposing will improve the flavor of the coffee. How? The moisture will have the time to disperse into the coffee beans, and that improves the taste of it. So after 45 days, when all the moisture has finally dried and was already in the coffee bean, this will be brought to the dry mill for the next step of the process. But before that, before I continue the process, let me just take you first to the coffee trees down there below. Our handsome coffee trees. Typical coffee. Yeah, that's our mainstay coffee. Okay, so there's papaya there, and the papayas are shaped like pumpkin. And we have avocado again, lychee there, and guava, the small tree here on the side. And that is mango tree there, 80 years old. Old mango tree. Okay, all of these are coffee trees, 25 years old. But now, as you can see, it's growing with new wood because last February this was all stump. We stump the coffee trees here after 3 years of production. So the reason is when new wood grows, more coffee beans grow on new wood. That's the reason we stump the coffee trees. Yeah.
3 years.
Every 3 years.
And the stumps are 25 years old?
No, every 3 years.
No, but the stumps...
These are 25 years old.
So yeah, and every 3 years you put in, well, new, fresh...
And we keep the coffee up to 40 years only.
Okay.
It's because older coffee trees don't grow much, don't produce much once it is old. Then, when this, for some, that method stumping is crazy because no harvest for 1 year. Like this was stumped, so no harvest for this year's coffee season. The next will be next year. But
You get twice as much.
according to the owner, stumping yields 20% of production. Okay. So when this will grow, coffee trees grow very tall, 20 feet or more, but we keep the coffee here from 8 to 10 feet only, is because it's all hand-picked for easy reach. Yeah, for easy reach. Then it flowers 7 to 10 times in 1 year, beginning in December to June. That's the flowering season of the coffee, and the flower is white.
How many trees produce one bag of coffee?
Okay.
Okay.
I will go on that later.
Okay.
Okay, suspense.
I know.
It flowers 7 to 10 times in 1 year. White is the color and with a very pleasant smell, like jasmine scent. But the flower stays only for 2 days. It melts after 2 days. And then it starts falling off from the tree, and that will tell that the growth of the coffee beans will start. Okay. Then whatever is the size of the flower determines the size of the coffee bean. And if you see a coffee tree that is loaded with flowers, The flowers comes out here. So many limbs are full with flowers. It means it's going to be a good harvest because each flower is a coffee bean. I show you the coffee flower here. I have with me. It's a harvest season now.
Okay,
It's a
we came at a good
harvest
time.
So real quick math. So one tree, 7 pounds of cherries, which turns into 1 pound of coffee. So from our perspective, as the drinkers, it's 1 pound per tree.
1 pound for 7 pounds of cherries, 1 pound of coffee. But if you drink 2 cups of coffee every day,
That-
you will consume 18 to 20 coffee trees in 1 year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So should I mark my trees now?
You will mark. And how many cups do you drink?
Oh, way more than 2.
me
Two is a warm-up morning. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how
That's
many
before I can
trees
talk.
you consume in 1 year. That's a lot, yeah? That's a lot.
He has 2 mugs.
Oh!
He says I'll have 2 cups. Yeah, you filled your cup, and how many real cups of coffee is that?
Yeah, it depends on the size of your cup
Right.
also.
Yeah,
I'll have 2 of his jumbo.
So Reserve gives us vanilla and green apple flavors with notes of chocolate and tobacco. The private reserve. Okay, so in the beginning, this was not a coffee farm. Henry Nicholas Greenwell from Durham, England, set his first foot here to Hawaii in 1849, and he became a landowner in 1850. He was only 21 years old that time, single. So he came here and he was a farmer and buyer and seller of goods. So first, oranges was the kind of farming that he had, and he was selling this to Europe. But a blight had happened and devastated the coffee, but it did not change his mind to forget orange. But the travel is to diversify, and was looking for a new strand of orange, and he found it in Europe too, and found a wife at the same time. He came back and grow again oranges, and he built a store, a general store. It is still standing up today. It is a museum now. On the right side of the property, top property, you see that store when you make your exit. It's just by the highway. It's called Kona Historical Society. Greenwell family donated that portion of land to that organization. However, due to COVID crisis, it was closed for meantime. So, it's coffee. So, farmers, or the coffee came to Hawaii, was from Brazil. It was Arabica coffee. A governor from Oahu took some 2 coffee trees and he grew it in Manoa Valley. A priest from this island, Kelekikoa, particularly the place, took some of the seeds and he grew it in the back of his parish. And the people that goes to his church would take some of the seeds and grow in their farms. And by 1828, they were already coffee farms. Mr. Greenwell started his business in 1850. So in 1873, Mr. Greenwell went to Vienna, Austria. He took some of the Kona coffee there and joined the Kaiser Exposition, where at World Fair trade was going on, and the coffee that he brought received a diploma. It was a diploma of recognition, the Kona Coffee. So he was instrumental in bringing Kona Coffee to the world. And he's very particular how coffee is picked. No other shade of color, red, because red is a fully developed coffee fruit. So his handshake and his signature would guarantee that the coffee he's selling is quality coffee. Okay, So during his time, Mr. Greenwell was not only a farmer and a buyer and seller of goods, he was a tax collector in the harbor, payroll master for school teachers, and also a postmaster in this district. He fathered 10 children, plus 23 grandchildren. Okay? So he has bestowed his 36 acres of land to 36,000 acres. So his property before begins from almost the airport all the way down here.
Wow.
So he has many descendants. Yeah. So this is now the only Greenwell that is into coffee farming. So he said he is so honored that he was able to continue what his great-grandfather had started. This owner now is the 4th generation Greenwell. With him is the 5th, his son. Okay. Tommy Greenwell is the overall general manager of this farm, and he oversees every process of the coffee, from pulping to roasting to dry milling to roasting. Okay. Mr. Tommy Greenwell, the current owner, lives down there below the farm. That's where his residence, and he only has 2 sons, and his youngest son is helping with him. So this is a family-owned farm now with 50 regular workers plus part-time workers and the pickers, our seasonal workers who comes here during the harvest season and picks coffee with us. They're paid by the pound, so the more coffee they pick, the more pay they have. Okay, the fastest picker is 300 pounds in one day. That's the fastest picker we have, and they do have contests too, just to motivate. Yeah. Okay, now we shall go to grafted. These are less than a year old baby seedlings, coffee seedlings. We use this in our farm, and Greenwell Farms also manage other farms, so we use also this for our managed farm, and sometimes we sell coffee seedlings. Okay, so all grown here before it is grown in the field. It takes about 3 years before we grow this in the farm. Okay.
So if you cut them every 3 years, you cut them down?
Every 3 years of production, yes.
So you have a constant rotation on different
Yes.
places in the farm that are always being cut, I'm
Yeah.
assuming?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's rotation.
Yes. Okay.
Rotation.
And then take the cuttings and graft them and
Yeah.
start new ones. So it's a
Yeah. And it
Constantly
takes
going.
only 5 years from being grafted.
Yes.
You'll have your first harvest.
Okay.
After
Thank
5
you.
years.
That was going to be another question.
And then so these are all grafted, so we use a different rootstock, the bottom, and we graft the variety of coffee we like to grow, and then the flavor of this coffee comes out after 4 or 5 years of production. Yeah, the real flavor comes out 4 or 5 years after. Okay, so there's more nursery area there, and there also. Okay, now let's go up that way. Please follow me. So pea berry is one coffee bean that was developed. It's a natural mutation that happens to the coffee tree. I'll show you how the pea berry look like. Okay, here. Round shaped coffee bean, no flat side, it's round. Okay, that's pea berry. I'll show you more pea berries I have here.
did you want to get
There's
that?
always round and always one, and for that reason they thought of this as a coffee defect. Pea berry before is discarded, and whenever they see round coffee bean they throw it away. But when the pea berry was roasted, it creates a certain transfer of heat, and because of its round shape, it roasts differently. only one coffee bean was developed, it came out to have a complex and delicate flavors, sweeter and flavorful. But peaberry is rare. Only 3 or 5% is peaberry out of the total harvest. 3 or 5% only.
Coming from an individual tree.
Any variety of coffee. It's not a variety of coffee, but like I said, it happens during the mutation. Okay? Natural mutation of the coffee. So this peaberry now is priced for $60 a pound.
Okay.
Before the discovery, it is tossed away, thrown away, discarded.
Now they're making up for it.
There was a marketing guy involved.
Instead of the
Genius.
top 1%, we have the top 3%.
So our peaberry is all Kona coffee, 100% Kona coffee. We don't buy the other peaberry that is not grown in the Kona coffee belt. Okay, so what are the deciding factors why coffee would come out to be good coffee? One deciding factor is the origin where it is grown. Kona coffee belt has good weather condition. There's always frequent cloudy skies and shorter warm days. 4 or 5 hours of sun only. Then we have ample rain here. As you can see, there's no catchment that are used here. We depend. Almost every afternoon we have rain. 70 inches of rain every year. Plus light wind. Plus perfect storm. Plus less acidic soil, rich with volcanic minerals. This is under the slopes of 2 huge volcanoes, Walalai and Mauna Loa volcanoes. Plus during the nighttime it's always mild. So all of these characteristics will allow the coffee fruit to develop and become a good coffee. Kona coffee is a coffee that has hint of sweetness, very aromatic, and doesn't give you the taste of bitterness. Okay? And by law, Kona coffee must be an Arabica coffee. Because Arabica coffee is less bitter, less in caffeine, sweeter with complex characteristics. So that's what should Kona coffee is from. Arabica variety of coffee. Okay, now second deciding factor is how the coffee is processed. Here in this farm, you've seen in the beginning the wet mill. That's the first step. Coffee is processed. Beginning with this. This is selected, and then we pulp the coffee. The beans are soaked, and then the beans, after soaking, is dried. Okay, machine or sun dried. Then we leave the 10.5 moisture for the reposing. After all the moisture has penetrated into the coffee bean, this will be processed now in the dry mill. This will go in the dry mill, and all of this will be placed inside a big rotating drum called huller. That huller has a moderate heat, enough only to remove the shell or parchment of the coffee. And this is how the parchment look like. Okay? The shell of the coffee. After the shell is removed, another layer is on the coffee bean. It's called the silver skin. The very thin layer of the coffee. It's like a thin skin, yeah? So this has to be removed too and polished. Stored there on the manner you store it. And roasted coffee beans, once you start consuming it, will be best on its flavor after 3 months. So what happens to this green beans sold to the buyers outside Hawaii? This will now use the legal trademark, which is 100% Kona coffee. It may have another label of name, but the trademark 100% is on the label. 100% Kona. Okay. Any questions so far? Yes, sir. Liberica coffee is from Liberia, West Africa.
Okay.
Okay. But this is never used for making coffee, but it's used only for root stock, root system. Because the roots of this coffee is worm resistant. Nematodes that are on the soil, microscopic worms, these are resistant to that. Okay. So the seeds, we grow it. Once it becomes a coffee seedling, we cut the top part, we graft the coffee to it, and the Liberica coffee.
And that's what you did down there?
Yes. That's what we do there.
Yeah.
Okay. So the coffee will grow healthy and could live for more than 100 years. Okay.
Wow.
So there is a coffee that we make here from 100 years old coffee trees. It's called Onoli coffee. So we only have 20 acres of Onoli trees, coffee trees. So this is very limited, and the Onoli coffee gives you the flavor of Swiss chocolate and old oak tree flavors. Okay, so that's from 100 years old coffee trees. Okay, now I'm going to show you coffee trees that we call grandma trees. It's because these were grown in early 1900s. So these are now 120 years old. And these coffee trees are Kona typica coffee, and never used for making coffee, but for propagation or seedlings or planting. Okay? So this,
Those are 120 years old?
yeah. So if you look at the trunk, you can really tell the age of the coffee. And this one here is also 120 years old coffee trees.
Pull one too hard, you'll break them.
No, flexible. They're flexible.
I think she would know.
The coffee trees are flexible, as you can see. Yeah, 100 years old, it doesn't break. Coffee are roasted there every day. And it is my husband who is the coffee roaster in this farm.
Is that what brought you to Hawaii?
No. Immigration. He never had any experience of roasting the coffee back home. He works in a government, and me, I'm a teacher there in the Philippines. My profession, or my work now is almost like teaching too. The only thing is that I don't give exams. And
I was paying attention
so he is the roaster here for 9 years. He only learned it when he was employed here. Okay, so there's 4 levels of roastings of coffee that we do here, beginning from the lightest to darkest, and this has a different time and temperature. The lightest we have is called medium roasts. In medium roast, there's more of character, origin, taste. There's more of the citrusy taste in the lighter roast. Since the character, origin, taste is beginning to eclipse and the oil is starting to surface on the coffee beans, then it gives you more of a chocolatey and nutty flavors. The dark roast, espresso roast, longer time it is roasted, higher temperature. This is almost burnt out. That's why the appearance of this coffee bean is like charcoal. Oil is already extracted from the coffee beans and the natural sugar is degraded. So this will give you of a smoky taste. And this is good to drink in the late afternoon or through evening, because even if with 2 cups of espresso roast, still you can have a good sleep. Because in this kind of roast, darkest roast, less caffeine. Less caffeine.
The acidity scale the same?
No, sour, less sour too for espresso. More sour on the medium roasts. Yeah.
Which coffee would you recommend for a teacher?
For a
Teacher.
teacher?
Yeah.
Medium roast.
Amen.
So the
Give it a caffeine boost.
yeah, in the daytime and through evening to make lesson plan. Okay, and that's
That was a good question.
the last piece of the puzzle here is the extraction. Okay, this now lies on your very own hand. How do you prepare your coffee at home? Okay, the water is the number one important. Quality, amount, and temperature. All these three makes a good coffee, but we all have a different taste buds. Okay, so it all depends on how you prepare it. When the coffee you made makes you happy and satisfied, that is the best coffee for you. No one can judge your coffee. And no worries, no right and wrong in making the coffee. Yeah, it's a personal preference. So, but never reboil, never reheat, never microwave your coffee. That is already a stale coffee if you do that. Keep it inside an air-escape container to retain the freshness of the coffee for the unroasted, for the whole bean or ground inside an air-escape container. Okay, so you can start your experiment by trying all the different rows of coffee there in our sample table. And with that, I would like to end this. Yes, you have questions?
Best for cold brew?
Cold brew, any. Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, any. Maybe medium, full city, dark. Yeah, it all depends on. Yeah.
Still personal flavor, all roasts are considered good for cold brew.
Yes, it's because we have different taste buds. Yeah. So some like the almost burnt coffee bean. Yeah. So now you know how coffee is made from bean to your cup of coffee. Okay? Yes, sir.
But I don't ever